In life, you're either an MCU fan or you die. No, but seriously, it's always been DC versus Marvel. In order to see the problem with this abomination, we have to go back, way back where it started, with Iron Man. So DC has always been on top of the blockbuster game, with bangers like Superman and Batman Returns and Superman 2. Yes, these movies may not be that good when you watch them today, but they've always been popular and hit in the blockbuster. But then Marvel sees that and goes, BAM! Iron Man! Arguably one of the biggest or most influential movies, opened the way for an entire franchise, making one of the biggest fan bases strong enough to take BTS Twitter. But then again, when did it all start to fall apart? Especially with Thor. Two things: quantity and cheap comedy, something many of the Marvel Phase 4 movies are suffering from. And sadly, Thor Love and Thunder has been a victim of that. Okay, so Thor Love and Thunder had an amazing cast, with Kristen Bale and Padme and Superman's daddy. You'd think Marvel would be able to put out more, but then that wasn't the case, where Marvel prioritizes cheap comedy and a weak formula that even the most loyal MCU fans are starting to get bored of. The thing is with Thor Love and Thunder is that it wasn't making cheap comedy and that was it. The movie, instead of making a situation funny, it makes fun of itself. You know, when we were making fun of Batman on Twitter, where Batman goes, I'm Batman. Wait, that didn't sound as good in my head. That's basically what Marvel does unironically to its own movies. The thing with Thor, it had a good storyline, but it had bad execution. It had good elements it could work with, especially that Kristen Bale, they would not make use of him, I don't know why, God forbids. I honestly feel comfortable to say Kristen Bale carried this movie for me, personally. We see Gore's background story at the start of the movie, why he does that, why this is his goal. And honestly, as the movie goes on, you start to even take Gore's side, you start to agree with him. And it's a shame that the movie does not take advantage of that. And then there's Thor. I really do like Thor as a character, and the way Marvel used him in Avengers Endgame and Ragnarok. It honestly gave you a little bit more of the character, and I didn't even mind that. It was able to play the comedic Thor, even though I wanted to see more of the serious Thor. But then again, Marvel wants to go and play the safe side by giving a safe movie that would obviously sell. Honestly, some people said it's basically a family movie you would go mindless into, and it's a damn shame we do not ask more of the MCU, and instead we settle for mediocrity. In the past movies, we see Thor full of regret, and where the world needed him most, he failed, and he suffers from depression and all that. And instead of portraying Thor as somebody that overcomes these things, they instead decide to give us stupid Thor or silly Thor. Something honestly made me very disappointed, especially with the way the MCU movies are going. And the way that Thor tries to give a good motivational speech, but then they would play that gag at the end where they turn everything into a joke. And instead of making you sympathize with Gore, they turn him into that maniac that kidnaps children and makes all that silly. Then there's the action and the VFX. Marvel basically settled for mediocre. And that is because Marvel wanted to go with more movies, more quantity, more blockbuster hits. Which is, yeah, we're all gonna go see the movie because it's the biggest movie studio making it. But honestly, that's all what the movie had going for. It was just mediocrity. You would get in, get out, nothing changed, nothing impactful. Just a forgettable movie. Where honestly I would argue that the newest Doctor Strange movie was way better in the VFX and action, which made watching it a little bit more worth it, even though it had its own problems.